Hey everybody, Sam here with Working Success, and welcome to the new studio space. I'm really excited. It's nice to have a dedicated spot where I'm not trying to set up tripods and lights and get everything rolling this way and that way and try and make it work in a really random, haphazard fashion. So I've got a desk set up here, computer, lights, we've got it all. And it's a really comfortable spot to make videos, and I'm excited. So I want to talk about for a minute, I made initially 25 videos about different things, different topics that I've seen people need to improve on in their workplace. And I made one called Performance Improvement Plans. Is this the beginning of the end? And man, that video took off. It's got all kinds of views. It's got all kinds of comments. And I tell you what, that was really what I needed to see, that this type of content can get traction. So I really appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart watching those, commenting on them. There's a few other videos that are taken off because of that. And man, I tell you what, it is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys. Now, that being said, the comments on that video for Performance Improvement Plan are what caused me to make this video today. Because what I learned from your comments on that is that so many of your bosses are using performance improvement plans as a means to get people out the door. And great. It's not what performance improvement plans are about. They're about, we're going to lay out a plan. This is what you need to do to be successful. That's it. That's all a performance improvement plan is. But reading through the comments, it's like, man, so many toxic bosses in there. I should make a video about what are the signs of a toxic boss. So that's what we're doing right now. And before anybody says anything, before you guys go running up to one of my old bosses, no, these are not all one boss that I've had in the past. I actually took 5 different bosses that I had and picked out one trait that I thought was really toxic about that boss and put it in this video. Now, does that mean that I didn't get along with my old bosses? No. For the most part, we all got along pretty well, I thought. It just means that their behaviors as a leader sucked. Somebody's got to tell it like it is, may as well be me. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into this video. And the first thing we're going to talk about, number 1, is crisis mode. What do you mean by that, Sam? What do you mean by crisis mode? Well, let me tell you. Crisis mode is when your boss has a meeting with you and something like this gets said. Performance is down. We can't pay the bills. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep the doors to this company open at this rate. You're the one in charge. What? What do we need to do better? You know? Like, that is the failure of a company, the failure of a department coming from the boss and being projected onto the workers because that boss has no clue how to fix things. Said what I said. Likely that place is doomed. That department's doomed. That boss is not long to keep running that company, that department, those people. Because you can't just throw things in a crisis mode, because all that does is cause people to start looking for other jobs. Oh, well, if we can't keep the doors to the company open, I gotta find another job. I gotta eat. I got kids to take care of. Exactly. Why would I want to keep working for your company? Why would I want to keep working in your department? If you don't know how to keep the doors to your own company open, if you don't know how to keep the doors to your own department open, if it's always a crisis about, oh, I don't know what we're going to do if we can't get these expenses under control, if we can't do this or we can't do that, we're way over budget. I'm going to have to start laying people off. How about you do your job? That's the boss's job. Get your budget in check. Hold your people accountable. Coach them. But the problem is they don't know what to do. So they're going to project it off on you. So that's number 1, crisis mode. You got a boss that's telling you it's crisis mode, it's time to figure out what to do. Probably time to get out of that department or get out of that company. Number 2, goalpost moving. We talking about football here, Sam? Nope. I don't even know that much about football. I know there's goalposts. Now, goalpost moving is when one goal gets set. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the project. Here's where it ends. Here's the yard marks in between on the metrics that you need to hit to be successful. Let's go out and get it. Cool. I don't know any employee that would be upset by knowing exactly what they need to do and at what pace they need to do it, what their production on that project should be. Sounds pretty ideal to me. Here's the problem. A week or two into that project, all of a sudden things change. Whoa, wait a minute. You told us last week that we had to finish this project by this date and we had to turn out 70 units a day. Yeah, I know, but this is what we're doing now. Okay, I guess we'll give it our best shot. So then you try and work around that. Now you're already frustrated. Now you were really close to finishing something, and all of a sudden, boom, rug's jerked out from underneath you. This has changed. Great. Guess we'll do our best. Maybe you might work around that for, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, boom, poof. We failed at that project. You failed at that project. Now we're going to do something different. We were like 80% done with that, and this company's invested $25,000 into working on what we're doing. Why don't we just finish it up? Nope, it doesn't matter. We failed at it. We're going to work on this now. Here's what we're going to do. Get at it. Well, you know, it only takes 2 or 3 times of that happening before you're completely demoralized. The entire workforce is demoralized. You can't get anything finished. You can't get anything done. There's nothing to measure. Are you successful or are you failing? You don't know. All you know is that everything keeps changing. Nothing ever gets done. Goalpost moving. Highly toxic behavior. Number 3, back talkers. And I'm not talking about people that just like sash you back, even though I guess that could technically be considered that. But I'm talking about if you have a boss that talks negatively about your coworkers in front of you when they're not present. So let's say me and my buddy Hank here, we're sitting here talking and, you know, our desk talking about a project and my boss comes up. Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah. Boy, I tell you what, that Jimmy is just, he can't do anything right. He doesn't listen. He doesn't do anything right. I just don't know about this guy. Well, that's super awkward for you to put in front of somebody. If you got a problem with Jimmy, why don't you go talk to Jimmy? You don't need to come tell everybody else about it. But, and this is the thing, pay attention. If you have a boss that does this, I want you to pay attention to this person. Because here's what's going to happen. That same boss will walk up when another group is there, and then Hank was with me last time, but now Betty's with me, and we're in the break room talking about something. And then the boss walks up, man, you guys hear about what Hank did the other day? Man, that guy can't get anything right. He can't do anything right. I'm going to have to talk. I don't know if I just don't get this dude. He's dumb as hell. Okay. Let me just cut to the chase on this one. If your boss does that, they're sowing seeds of discourse around because they are trying to connect with you, hoping that you don't like the person they're talking about. Or hoping that you've noticed it too. I really think deep down that they're trying to get you to go talk to that person themselves because they're too chicken shit to do it on their own. But what it is they're just a very immature person if they do that. Look, there's a thing called praise in public, criticize in private. Now, it would be different if there was a group of people there and the dude walked up and said, man, did you guys hear what Jimmy did the other day? That dude came up with something and he saved us $30,000. You guys see Jimmy, you tell him good job, man. I'll tell you what, I'm proud as hell of that guy. Hey, do you see what Hank did the other day? Man, Hank was out there and truck driver hurt himself and he went out there and patched him up and we got the ambulance call. And I'll tell you what, Hank did a great job. You guys see Hank? You go tell him he did a great job. Tell him you appreciate working for a guy like that. Completely different. But in a toxic environment, these bosses are going around talking shit behind everybody else's back. And they're talking shit about you also to other people. So don't think that your boss is confiding in you if they're talking about other people's behaviors or whatnot, because that's not what's happening. That boss clearly doesn't have what it takes to get things done. If you need to criticize somebody, if you need to adjust somebody's performance or their behavior or whatever, you pull them to the office and you talk to them privately, and then you don't tell a soul that you talk to them. That's what a good boss does. But a toxic boss will let everybody know the dirty laundry. They'll let them know what their faults are, And if they're doing that, they're doing it to you too. So keep an eye out for that one. Number 4, favoritism. Oh my gosh. Disclaimer on this one. There is a difference between every boss, I believe firmly, probably has a couple favorite employees. And the reason they have a couple favorite employees is because generally those employees are in a really good mood all the time and they go above and beyond and they're always super helpful. It is hard not to show a little bit of preference of somebody like that when they just are super positive people that go above and beyond and get everything done and they make your life easy. But that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about favoritism in the aspect that your boss always has a group of people that go with him after work or go with her after work to go drink at the bar together. They go out and get blitzed all the time and then they come back in. Now, is that necessarily a super toxic trait? No, not if everybody's invited. Now, if the boss is doing it for like a team building thing, but that's not really what happens here. It's been my experience that a boss like that will take people out, and then whoever shows up to help keep them entertained because they're lonely or they're bored or whatever it is will then get favoritism showed at work. They'll get special assignments. They'll get easier assignments. They'll get put in positions where they can benefit or get more exposure because they go out of their way to keep the boss entertained after work. That's a very toxic behavior right there. Now, I'm not saying that a boss shouldn't take everybody out for a drink if so inclined. I shouldn't maybe go out to eat for an appreciation deal. You know, as a boss, I've gone out to employee get-togethers because maybe somebody was leaving for a new job. Hey, man, let's celebrate your time here. It was good working with you. First round's on me. There's nothing wrong with that. But if it's habitual, if it's week after week, month after month, day after day, then you got a toxic trait on your hands there. And finally, number 5, threats. Oh, this one covers a multitude of sins, I guess. The first part of that we'll cover would be threats towards your career and performance. So if your boss is always saying, if you can't do any better than this, I'm just going to have to let you go. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep you around here. Or like, well, if you can't do any better than this, I'm just going to have to write you up. Too many of those, you'll be out the door. Man, if you guys are hearing that, you're never going to do anything right to that boss, so why do you want to stay working for that boss? Get out of there. To quote Office Space, Peter Gibbons, well, that only makes people try hard enough to not get fired. Yeah, it is exactly that. The second half of that would be, of course, physical threats of like violence or pain or whatever, So story time, I guess. I had a boss one time. I'm not a small guy. I'm like 6'6", 270 pounds, whatever. So I usually just think somebody comes at me and like a physical threat that they're just talking shit. But I had a boss one time tell me, this dude's like, I don't know, 5'8", maybe. He came about halfway up to my chest. And all I remember about this was he was pissed off about something. He looked at me and he was like, I'm going to kick your ass. Hey, bro, there's a step ladder over there. If you're going to kick my ass, you're going to need it to reach it, In reality, what needs to happen in those situations, and if you find yourselves in this situation, hit up HR, hit up your corporate HR, and report that type of stuff. That's not right. You don't get paid enough to deal with that. If your boss is so insecure about something, about getting called out on something, about you having a different opinion than them, if they don't like you and they're going to resort to threats of physical violence, well, then just don't even play the game. Be like, I don't know, if you have to, call the cops. Report their asses for it. At least get it on record somewhere that this is a behavior. And too many of those will get somebody shoved out the door really quickly. So that's my 5 signs that you have a toxic boss. My suggestion is, if you're watching this video right now and you're sitting here nodding, oh yeah, I have to deal with that all the time. Look, stop torturing yourself. Look for another job. If it's in a department, if you work for a corporate level, transfer to a different department. Transfer to a different location if you can. If you can't do that, start looking for another job. It is not worth your mental health, and it's not worth, you don't get paid enough to have to deal with any of this. Bosses have their own goals, their own deadlines, their own accountability. And if they can't plan accordingly, if they can't control the budget, if they can't set the course for their department, for their company, for the business they own, you don't have to tolerate it. Likely, if that boss stays in there too much longer, it's going to shut down anyway. Or they're going to get canned and get done something else. But the bottom line to that is, don't, because you're a loyal person, that you're not the type of person that would ever leave a situation like that. Don't think that you have to continue to put up with it. You don't. You got a toxic boss that's showing like it really any of these, but especially multiple signs of being toxic, get out. It is not worth your life being having this much turmoil to have to deal with it. So there you go. Tell me what you think below in the comments. The discussion around the PIPs and the PIPs really spurned this one, and I'd like to know more about it. What are some of the signs I might have missed? What do you guys see that's a toxic trait in a boss that we might do other videos on? I'm really looking forward to hearing about it below. Until then, we'll see you next time.